Hello and welcome to WorldPoint. WorldPoint is a presentation of South Asia Democracy Watch, which is a non-profit organization. Our efforts are to present research and research based analyses and knowledge based discoveries for our audience. This is our inaugural program, and today we are commemorating International Women's Day in our inaugural program. And we have with us two very distinguished panelists. Um, I have with me Miss Farzana Raja, who is an distinguished politician from Pakistan, and she has been a cabinet member, federal cabinet member. She has also been heading a mega development program, Safety Net, which still is considered a reference point in women's empowerment, which is Benazir Income Support Program. We have with us Ms. Sabra Bano, who has been working for a long time in European Union for on gender issues, and she is an expert in women and gender equality, and has been working on women's issues for over 3 decades now. I welcome to both of you and myself. I'm Marvi Sirmed. I'm a freelance journalist and a human rights defender from Pakistan. I have been working for 30 years in different capacities. I've worked with United Nations Development Program in Pakistan. I've also worked with European Union for a short while, and done a couple of programs for DFID of UK. Uh, and Recently, I have completed my 3 year stint as the professor of human rights and journalism in University of Connecticut. We are here to talk about the state of democracy, the quality of democracy, and how important it is to have a representation of women and marginalized groups in a thriving democracy, in a functional democracy, and how the democracies could look like when there's ample representation of women in that. I would request Sabra Bano to kindly give us an overall picture and the global outlook, how the global picture looks like when we talk about democracy, its downslide, and how women's representation is important in a functioning democracy, and how does it look like right now, Sabra?
Thank you very much, Marvi. First of all, I would like to congratulate Team WorldPoint for their inaugural event. I think, and most important thing is that they have programmed it around International Women's Day. So we are very grateful for this attention. This is an important year, the year of democracy, whereas we know about over 4 billion people will go to the polls, and then 2 million of them are women. From a gender perspective, this is a very concerning issue that majority of these 2 billion voters, women, would stay as voters. They would have very less ratio or percentage in participating as a candidate and getting to decision-making bodies, are also not to have much say in election management bodies. So when it comes to women's political participation in general, it has referred to women as voters. What now feminists are saying, that we want to have gender equality in power sharing. We want to have decision making power that talks about equal resource allocation. We want to have ministries, other responsibilities in in other administrative unit on equal basis. So the question is whether it's developing country or developed world, we see that women's political participation has been limited to women as voters. I think in this year, focus also should be how do we invest in democracy by investing in women and try to look at what are the barriers for women's political participations. And I think we have a very distinguished panel here, uh, politicians and media experts who could perhaps take the issue further in saying what are the barriers and what are the challenges for women for becoming a candidate. I think that is very important to ask for women's power in deciding for resource allocations. And to conclude on your question, I would just say that situation is also not very rosy in the West. If you look at major election management bodies in Europe or North America, Canada, New Zealand, you would see that it is a male dominated arena. So I think I look forward to your contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabraji. And then Marviji, I'm really honored to be with both of you today in this panel to speak about very important issue which is very close to my heart. And first of all, I would congratulate South Asia Democracy Watch. They have launched a channel, WorldPoint, to speak on different important issues with research-based analysis and some positive solutions to resolve the problems rather than just issue the challenges, so discussing the challenges and beating the drum that everybody is doing on every second forum. I really, and I'm again blessed that and honored that I've been part of this cause-oriented this mission and objective that South Asia Democracy Watch has. And WorldPoint has started from the women empowerment issue, and the channel is trying to show the priorities and importance of women empowerment. And I really appreciate them that they are starting from International Women's Day 2024. This is like I would say that I'm starting a new journey with this forum and with you all. I'm honored. So as you have mentioned, Sabraji, you're right. It has seen all over the world that women are 50% and 2 billion women are going to vote. But first of all, are they mentally, physically, socially, economically independent, and they understand the meanings and the importance of the vote? All 2 billion, of course, most of them would be, but I would say the majority of them will have no knowledge or background and importance of the vote, how we build our leaders and leaderships in our countries. Those trainings, I know that Sabraji, you have been involved in training of women in parliamentarians and women in parliament, and Marviji has been raising voice for women's rights in South Asia and specifically in Pakistan. We have seen her work. But I would tell you that we have to work simultaneously on different stages. We have to look at the challenges. We have not only economic challenges, because women are not economically independent at all. Once they are not economically independent, they are not socially independent, and they have no understanding of political importance and their political independence, that they can vote and elect a leader, to choose a leader who can fight for their rights. This is very important, and this needs an education and awareness, and I would say that the awareness is very important. At this point, if I'm talking about Pakistan being the member of parliament for 10 years, And looking from the global perspective, being 3 years involved in my research program with United Nations Institute of Research and Oxford University from UK, I have last spent 3 years from 2019 to 2022 looking at how to build resilience in women and how to make them more independent to make their and to take part in decision making and to empower them in the decision making of their own household. What I have experienced in Pakistan, that women are culturally and in the family based systems, clan based systems, they are not allowed to vote of their own choice of a candidate. They have to go by the family decision or clan decision, and then they follow that instead of following their own personal choice to whom to elect. So when women are not allowed to vote to the of their own choice, what to talk about bringing women in parliament and to empower them and to give a more participation. Then second, if we are talking about the women empowerment and bringing them in the parliament through the political parties, then we have to educate the political parties and reform the political parties systems and awarding tickets as well. That is another big major issue that we have to look into it. And I would like that Marviji and Sabraji, you both give your own point of view on that, because the leadership do not, even though if we have some countries like Pakistan, even India has participation, uh, two way of participation. One, indirectly elected seats, and the other one is the direct election where people vote for women. In both situations, we have seen that the women who have more international, national exposure, technical background, education in specific fields, they are not brought into assemblies. So selection and awarding tickets is needs reforms in every political party. We have seen only 1 or 2% of women have been brought to assemblies who have some background to deliver. Rest of them need more training and more exposure. Okay, even if they want to award tickets to anyone, but then political parties are responsible to do trainings for those women that they give tickets to enhance their capacity, to build their capacity, and to give them an exposure and then see how the international world is doing on the other side. So these are my some few points. I don't want to take more time. I would go to Marvi Sirmed, that she has vast experience on this as well from the other side of the aisle, and she can share her experiences and give her point of view, and then we can go further
Oh,
in our
thank you.
discussion.
Yeah, thank you very much, Farzana ji. I think your experience and Sabra Bano's experience very important in the sense that Sabra is a global view of looking outwards, um, uh, in a big picture manner, and your view is so important to hear because you are speaking from the thick of the action. You were inside the all that action which we are talking about, which is women's political participation, how it happens and how it doesn't happen. My view, since I've worked mostly in the South Asian with the South Asian democracies, I I would think about the barriers for women in their in exercising their representation in the political arena. I would categorize these barriers in three. I call them three M's: money, muscle, and misogyny.
Absolutely.
So money means all the economic, because there both of you have discussed about it how, because women are not economically independent, they are less likely to to make the decisions about where do they want to go in terms of their profession, in terms of their professional and other life choices. And also money is very important, being independent in money making, being free to decide about the resource, whatever resources you have. That is so important in entering into politics because, contrary to the common belief, especially in South Asian societies, that politicians, once you become politician, you become rich. I think for women, it's a very, very hard bargain because women have to invest and invest and invest and invest in terms of not just their energies and time, but also in terms of the economic resources which they seriously, seriously lack, whatever social class they belong to. And then the next is muscle. Yeah, muscle. I mean, women are all our literature in talking about South Asia now. All our literature, our entertainment media, our films, our performing art, everything, and all the other media messages, our textbooks, everything teaches us our kids grow up thinking and believing that women are a weaker sex. We are called a weaker sex. And there are very, very pronounced gender roles in our societies. Women are supposed to work only in a certain domain, and politics is strictly, strictly male domain. Even in in today's South Asia, in our minds it is a male domain. So when a woman comes to this to this to politics, she is considered an aberration. She It is not normal for women to be ambitious and to be politically oriented, to think about their political careers. They're unwomanly. It's not womanly to think about all these things, because womanly is to think about your kids, think about getting married, think about uh, you know taking care of your home, taking care of your elders in the family, taking care of your kids. So this is womanly. Anything outside that bound is unwomanly. So that is what women politicians in our countries are fighting against. This is what I call muscle. And that there is so much of violence against women, all kinds of violence, not just physical violence. It's this so much of psychological violence by using religion, not just talking about Islam, not just talking about it, because South Asia is a very diverse in terms of religion. So all religions, howsoever progressive these religions could claim to be, all of them are together in suppressing women. The religious people in these societies, they are I think they suppress women in unison. So religion is used as a tool to keep women to check their development and progress. And this is one and it gives this tool gives in South Asian cultures, especially in India and Pakistan, uh, it gives a tool to whosoever wants to suppress women, to commit violence against them. In Sometimes it is domestic violence, sometimes it is vigilante violence. You have seen so many cases of throwing acid on women's faces because they don't conform to whatever norms they have, women violate in the minds of the otherwise very common pervasive misogyny, and patriarchal mindset. So this is two. And the third, my final thought in this segment is misogyny. Women are kept, it's closely linked with the other two, money and muscle. Misogyny keeps women away from the action of life, from all expressions of life, from all expressions of being, of existence, unless they agree to remain in the four walls, to remain in the confines of whatever the society defines for them. And that is responsible for how they're kept away from education, how they're kept away from exposure, because they are expected to remain in four walls, or at least focused on four walls. Uh, they 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 do not get enough exposure as a man gets in our cultures. And because of this lack of exposure, there is little chance of their political training. Although in a society like Pakistan, for example, there are very limited opportunities for even men, boys, to get political, structured political training. But still they are able to um, to cross that barrier because of sheer exposure and the opportunities that they have, immense opportunities. You cannot imagine being a woman in these societies and still cross these barriers, because these opportunities are extremely limited. You have to be 200% more stronger than men, and more ambitious than men, in order to be
to achieve that.
where the men are.
No,
So I
absolutely.
think these three things are, everything else comes in these three brackets. Because of these barriers, we see very little women represented. We, in next segments, we I can talk about the percentages of women and how they are represented in the
But
parliaments.
I would ask Marviji, you have just elaborated beautifully that in such a short time that about women issues. But do you see, Sabraji, the cultural issues that we are talking about in South Asia, rest of the global world? Are we just like having the same issues? Have some perspective as well, but I will give next after you. But I'm just asking you that do you see in your international experience globally that we share the cultures, or they have different problems to be
I
part of to participate in politics, women
Yes, I
participation?
think when it comes to women's political participation, we all are the one. We are united. This is the common problem, issue, uniting factor that we have between East and West and North and South, from my perspective, because. For example, in 2017, I observed first time we observe election from gender perspective in various countries. So I decided, after observing in Afghanistan and MENA region, that let's look at Dutch elections and see, what is the structure. And we realized that our own election commission, and it is the country that is known for its support for gender equality globally. There were 2 women only in election commission, and the rest was men. Also, all of the polling station heads, I mean, not all, majority of them were men. So that was something very shocking. And it was such a sort of discovery, I would say, in Dutch politics. The finding that we brought, though I was a little scared that, what would I have to observe with my team during Dutch elections from gender perspective. But even these findings, through electoral observation and with facts and figures, were able to showcase that gender discrimination is embedded in political in the politics of European democracies very much. I have traveled to for this purpose from Sweden to many other countries, Belgium, and we have discussed the same issue. So I think there is a need to discuss the issue of women's political participation globally, internationally. And it is not something that women in developing countries and in South or in MENA region or Arab countries should feel ashamed about. It is not their struggle. And I think it is really important that somehow we also talk about how politicians, civil society organizations, and media can come together to form a global forum that addresses these issues systematically through their networks, through their reach. So I think problem is also that is lacking. Yeah, over to you, Farzana.
Yeah,
Mavi.
thank you so much. It's really remarkable that whatever you have said, but I'm just thinking that why the participation of women in democracy and political systems, the number is lower. Even though, as Marvi said, now men's number is getting opportunity and getting into that system is really hard. There are two reasons. I would say in developing countries, we have a more of like a tribal culture, feudal culture, and the people who are more moneyed or financially very strong, only it is known that they have a right to be part of a political system, not a common person from streets. I can give you an example. When I was like a 24, 25 years old, when I wanted to be part of this political system, and somebody asked me from the area that I belong to, from my ancestral constituency, they asked me that, do you have a financial established background? How many vehicles that you are providing to your party supporters and workers? How many days food that you are providing to how many people? It was asked to me, and being like 23, 24 years, I was little taken back that what they're asking to me. So it means a common person who's a voter is also, his mindset is also designed in a manner that he's thinking that the politician who's representing me should be a moneyed person, not between us, out of us, like,
Who
otherwise.
can change this situation? I mean, who is the actor, Marvi? I mean, is it the political party or parties that could take the decision? Is it? It should be the legislation. Should it be civil society's pressure?
I think all three of it is they act in parallel. Otherwise, if only one, if even one is missing, then the whole structure would fall down. Because it was, for example, I'll give you Pakistan's example. For example, in Pakistan, there was a push for 33% quota for women, and we have been saying this ever since Benazir Bhutto Sahiba went to represented Pakistan as Prime Minister of Pakistan in 1995 to Beijing's Women's Conference and signed CEDAW there. Ever since, we have been talking about the 33% quota in Pakistan's parliament, because we needed quota, because women did not have a level playing field to enter politics, and we have discussed so many barriers to them. So we were saying, and 33% number, we didn't invent that number. That number is actually internationally accepted as uh, that a
At
number
least
that
to
is
start.
important, that
Right.
is that
Yeah.
is needed to effect a change. So we were talking about this, and political parties, they were intermittent governments, very very noisy and cumbersome democracy in Pakistan in those days. And coming and going of governments was a normal way of life, every other year. But even in those difficult years, major political parties agreed to us, but they were not sure how the constitutional amendment were done. So we were just working with them. When in 1999 military dictatorship came in, and the dictator, General Pervez Musharraf, thought that let's placate these liberal women, so that he could have his way in whatever. And he, instead of giving us 33% quota, he gave us 17% quota seats. And those seats also, he gave those seats in a way that it almost ensured the elite capture of those seats, because we were asking, give us the quota seats, but we want direct elections on those quota seats, so that they are elected, they have this mandate of the electorate. And they come to the house within with chin up as an elected representative. But he gave us this system in which the political parties nominate their women on reserve seat, and so the rest is history. And now only those women can come to house, which who are very very close to the political party leadership, and they keep leadership happy, and they are in the sense that they conform to whatever rules are set by the political party heads and very central figures. And that is how the elite capture has been ensured. Now this entire system, so Pakistan has 33 17% quota, but we could not do much about women's participation. I would also, and if that push was not there from the civil society and media and everything, even those 17% women would not have been in the house. if that legislation was not there. So there comes legislation, civil society legislation, and then it was the successive governments who had to work with the civil society and with the parliament in order to make those policies and laws that are now part of Pakistan's statute. Same is happening in the India. In India, for example, the the quota is not. It's still, they are still discussing whether to give quota or not. And in the recent few months ago, Prime Minister Modi wanted to float this bill of quota. And interestingly, some very committed feminist women politicians, they did not agree to that quota option because of various, I mean, as they say, devil is in the detail. So in the detail, if you discuss, they had very strong arguments against the quota, because without quota, even without quota, Indian parliament had so many women elected from the general seats. On the other hand, in Pakistan, in 2008, for example, that was the time when maximum women were elected on general seats. There were 15 women.
But
In
Marvi ji, I would
2013,
add,
only nine. I'm just ending. Only
ji,
nine women. In the next election, 2018, eight women. And now, after a long time, 12 women have been in 2024 elections. So you can see there is a gradual decrease, and now it has been, it's sudden increase.
but I wanted to add, Marviji, you have pointed out a very important thing. But these 12 or these 8 or these 9 even,
Mhm.
not from common people, not from
Yeah,
general public.
yeah,
They are very distinguished, belong to very distinguished feudal industrialist
families. Yeah,
families.
yeah,
They have maybe 40 or 50% resources of the country.
yeah,
So if they're coming in power like this with a lot of resources and background and backup, it does not mean they are the true representation of a common girl and a woman from the street. So the struggle of civil society, media, intelligentsia, and some political parties in Pakistan was that to bring women from grassroots to do the to represent women instead of these like so-called women, because I'm not against anyone. I've been part of this system for 20 years. But what we are not going to achieve, the result that we want legislation for women and girls, but we cannot achieve that goal, desired goal, because we don't have the representation, the true representation. And secondly, even if we have 17% of quota, 17% women are approximately 66, 67 women in the
yeah,
parliament. They are towing their own party lines. So they are not voting beyond party lines or across the party lines to support any agenda. If they belong to political or religious political parties, they will stick to their own point of view and they will be against the moderate and liberal thinking. If they are from center left, so exactly the same way everywhere. But Pakistan People's Party, when General Musharraf's rule, we were fighting against the dictatorial rule. So General Musharraf announced this to just show to the world, as Marvi said, that we are liberal and moderate and we are bringing women in it. But Benazir Bhutto, Shaheed, at that time, she supported this bill. Everybody said that Benazir Bhutto made a deal with a dictator.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that was a wrong perception was created because she said this was our agenda. And if he's implementing our party policy, so if we don't support him today, we will be held accountable tomorrow to our voters and women of Pakistan that we did not support when Musharraf was trying to do it. Don't see who's doing it, any work. You see what they are doing it. So that's the main. And then she supported that, even though she was getting criticism from media, some parts of media as well. But my point, Sabraji, coming back to you, I just want to ask you that we are still in India, Pakistan, in SAARC countries, struggling to achieve and get the whatever we are supposed to get. And even if we get it, that is gone to mostly to elite, and the purpose still is not served. But what do you think? You are saying that you have traveled to Sweden and to different countries. You are looking at it. So what are the reasons that they are behind, even though they are economically independent, they are socially independent, they are more liberal and moderate? but why they are not in political system? Because I think, I give you a food for thought in that I think that political systems have been portrayed more of like a towards a negative. They are being ridiculed as, oh, you are doing politics with me, means this is something that is not the right way to do. So the political system have been tinted or shaded because that's how it has been portrayed. So is this the reason you think that good, educated, and well accomplished people do, or especially women, do not want to join political systems to correct whatever they are supposed to do for the people?
I think with the development of industrialization, it was also very much promoted that women should stay at home and they will keep active, energetic, and nourished the labor force. So there is, you see, in Europe, women in the Netherlands, it's a very small percentage of women who are working full time. Women are working part time. They see their role as mothers. That is their primary role. So also with the welfare state, the burden of keeping it functioning was put on women. And political, and I also think it is clever of men to craft a role for women and keep less competitors in power sharing game. So somehow there is education needed, and ambitious young women in Europe, they need to join political parties. I think many civil society organizations, activists in many political parties, and I see in many European countries, they are trying to motivate young women for a political role. I also think it's not important really that women should participate in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea, but there are enough women who wish to join politics and they can play a role. There are more than enough, and there aren't mechanisms for that. I mean, for example, it is very common in Europe to put women at the bottom of the list. In the Netherlands, many women organizations, the very political election campaign that started in 2017, that was vote for women and vote for from below, from the list. So we were saying that doesn't solve the problem. Problem is not to accept the list and position of women on this candidacy list, but we have to say that democracy should not discriminate to bring men and women on same electable position. So that's why I think there is consciousness raising is needed, work is needed at UN level, at national governments level. It's also in the West, and certainly it is everywhere. So I think it has to do with the economic system that has already placed women at a very disadvantaged, dependent position within the development model of Western capitalism.
Marviji, don't you think that political parties should be held accountable of awarding tickets to women representation and see their performances? And I don't want that, the women, they have a lens on them and looking at their performance, not the male members. But I'm just saying equally, if they have been given an opportunity. And that's how the political parties, through trainings and through accountability systems or accountable systems, they can see that how many tickets they have awarded, what they have achieved, how many bills, how much legislation towards the common people, children, education, women, girls, have been done by these women to evaluate their performance, to give them tickets for the next time. Or just because right now the political parties have only one way of awarding tickets, is that looking at that who was more loyal to them, who was more following their directions and instructions as a political party, not exactly their performance towards the people of not Pakistan, but any country, even India and any other country. So, Marvi, I would request you to sum up and give your comments on that, whatever we have discussed so far.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very good question. I have just my I'll just make 3 points, 3 different points. The first is taking from what you asked. Uh, should political parties be accountable for that? Of course, political parties need to answer why they would not give tickets or nominate women candidates. And so we are one of our demand in the feminist movement in Pakistan has been that there should be, instead of, the next step for the quota. So our demand was that you give us 33% quota for 3 election cycles, and after the completion of 3 election cycles, you make it obligatory for political parties to give a certain percentage of tickets to women,
Right.
and that certain percentage should be proportional to the population of women, the number of women in the country, which is 48%. So we were saying that first complete the 3 election cycles with 33% of women's representation, and then give the ticket to 48%. 48% tickets should be given to the women because our population, our number is 48%, but that couldn't happen. But had it happened, there would have been a legislation. The civil society push was there would have been a legislation, and then that legislation would have translated into more women and more meaningful representation of women in Pakistan's parliament. Now what happened was that instead of improving upon, in addition to these 17% seats that we had in the parliament, quota seats, political parties were still giving general seat tickets to women candidates. In 2008, the number of these general seat ticket holders, women ticket holders, was greatest. But then it sharply declined, and it declined into 2013, and the next election in 2018. This time, political parties did not give tickets as much as we would have like them to do, but the number of elected women on general seats is looks increased, because one particular political party could not um, contest elections on its symbol. So there are more independent women. They contested election with as independent candidates, so more independent women than political party, from political parties. So the political parties have declined. The number of women being trusted by the political parties to be a candidate has declined. This is very concerning for us to see why political party, despite the stellar performance of these women parliamentarians. By the way, to and that then I with this I come to my second point. What Farzana ji you were saying earlier, that these women, when they come, they toe their party lines. Actually, men also toe their party lines, right? Men toe the party lines much more rigorously than women do. And actually, women have shown that they have a capacity to look beyond party lines by making women's parliamentary caucuses in
Caucus, yes,
all
I've been
these.
part of this.
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
Pakistan was the first one to initiate that process in 2008,
Right.
with us quickly caught up. India caught up quickly, Bangladesh caught up quickly, and even Afghanistan caught up so quickly. We had we just in the whole of South Asia, we did not have a caucus in Nepal, and that was also because there was this constituent assembly going on, and they were working on their constitution after the restoration of democracy. So we had a very powerful women's presence in all the parliaments in the South Asia. And I would say that from the year 2007, 6, 7 to 2014-15, this was the golden era for women's participation in Pakistan, in South Asia,
Exactly.
because these women's caucuses were working together. There were women speakers of the lower
House,
house
yes.
in two countries,
I was there.
India and Pakistan,
Pakistan,
both
yeah.
of whom they worked together to bring all the women's caucuses together. And we brought Afghanistan's women's caucuses. There was the President Karzai was government, President Karzai's government in place, who prides himself to be a very progressive person. And then Ashraf Ghani, President Ashraf Ghani was there, whose wife, by the way, is the feminist iconic feminist figure from Afghanistan. So we were like doing so good. And then sudden sharp decline came in. Prime Minister Modi came in India. In Pakistan, Imran Khan came in, and with it, a lot of other things happened in Bangladesh and in Sri Lanka, for example. There was a lot of religious. Sparking going on in the entire region. So we all of these countries caught up in that. And but we did show that women have this capability more than men to look beyond party lines and work together for a common agenda. So that was there. My last point, and there I would end, is that I see women's participation or political participation not just entering the hardcore politics and becoming the parliament member. I see it as their representation in all decision making, be it the decision making positions in as civil bureaucrats, as party leadership, political party leadership, as police force leadership, as military leadership and representation in intelligence agencies, which is very, most of our South Asian states are national security states. So there's a lot of uh, power that the intelligence community holds, and there are no women there. Civil bureaucracy, media, even. We are now seeing that a lot of women are entering into media, but it still is a very, very male dominated area. So I think in all of these civil society and movements, democracy movements, etc. So all these things, in trade unions, student union. We don't have student union in Pakistan, but in the rest of the South Asia, there. Women's representation in all of these, coupled with women's representation at the decision making in the private sector. More women CEOs. Mean more women's participation in the decision making at that level. The conglomerates, the international transnational companies, they need to be more gender equal environments to work. So I think I translate political participation into that kind of a broader outlook, where women are represented not just in parliaments but all over, in the
but
political parties and in everything that matters to a common person. uh, you
But
know
Marviji,
matters to the life
I
of
just
a common person.
before we end this program, Sabraji says her last word, but I would like to recommend. It's my recommendation. Then, why we are talking about 33% and 17%. Women should have a representation everywhere as an equal, because we are 50% of the population, right, of the world. So women should get a 50% representation in each and every walk of life. That's how they can play their role, and we can have a balance in implementing and making legislation and making new rules and laws for everyone, where women have their own say, like equally. For 2024 International Women's Day, that's what, in my own personal capacity, I would recommend that we should talk about 50% of representation instead of less than that. So, Sabraji, if you want to say the last word before we finish
Absolutely.
this program.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think you have concluded it so nicely. And this is what we wanted to actually agree upon in a way, because this is the year 2024, where we are talking about more than 2 billion women are becoming part of a democratic process, but majority of them would remain as voters, and somehow we need to address that. And I think I certainly would say that that should be the demand, and we should take it further to try to connect with each other, have other networks, and it's year ahead. And certainly, it's about time this year that we should go firm, and we should be bold about talking about what Farzana is saying, 50-50. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mavi, would you agree to 50-50?
Absolutely. I said it earlier that we need to ask political parties to give us the number of tickets they give should be equivalent to their population, which is in Pakistan's case 48%, but in world's case 50%. So there
50%.
we need that. That's the minimum that we need.
Right. So this today we are demanding this from the platform of WorldPoint, the channel of South Asia Democracy Watch, and I would say I think this should go the statement as well. And South Asia Democracy Watch is starting the global the WorldPoint channel by demanding 50% participation of women in politics and women in every walk of life.
In every walk
So
of life,
this should
in
be the
all decision making
statement. And
positions.
this is a great program, Sabra
Yes,
ji and Marvi ji. It's like we would have discussed like few more hours we could sit here.
That's right.
This is like a topic close to our hearts, and I would say that we have discussed a lot, but we will come back on different issues, different aspects of women empowerment,
Absolutely.
and we'll continue this program, and we will try to give maximum the knowledge, experience, and background, whatever we have, to our viewers. And I would say thank you so much to both of you. And I'm saying thank you to viewers to listening to us. Please give your comments so we can do our next programs as you give your comments and we move on further on this research based analysis. Thank you so much and God bless you all.
thank you so much.
Thank you.